Hi, I'm Lucien,
I'm Morgan.
and welcome to Divinations of the Collective, a show where we talk about anything nerdy, geeky, or relevant to our personal interests. So, during these little discussions, we will be talking mostly about D&D and perhaps other RPGs, um, perhaps some board games, but we also might branch out into other topics of interest such as video games, movies, books, TV shows, and the like. I personally am a big fan of storytelling in video games, so oftentimes I will tie things into that. It's just a good way of explaining what I want to say. So, with that being said, it's kind of weird how turn-based games. I'm kind of going back to a conversation we were having last night where turn-based games aren't typically made
Yeah.
too well.
Nowadays, I think people.
I think it's more
Yeah.
that they look at a game and they want to have combat, right? And they don't want it to be
Yeah.
like a side scroller.
They want it to be immersive.
And they
And
don't think
turn based games require some level of strategy that a lot of people just aren't interested in. They're interested in, the reflexes aspect of gaming.
I think,
and- Yeah.
especially now more than ever when it comes to competitive gaming.
Yeah, people don't want to think super hard about, their next move, I guess. If people want that, they'll go to, card games or specific strategy games,
I
and
love
RPGs
Card
are.
games so much.
Yeah.
I don't. Honestly, I think it's the collecting. I like things.
Yeah, collecting is just the feeling you get being able to collect things is nice.
They're small. They're manageable.
Yeah.
You can have an absurd number of them. You can look at them. Some of them are shiny.
Mhm.
Ooh, look at that. We sell dice.
Yeah. Ooh.
Some of them are shiny.
They're very shiny.
Yeah, no, but we can finally start talking about Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden.
Yay.
Yay!
Should we go back over what we were talking about the other day about the similarities with the setting style, or Curse of Strahd, where they bring you into a place and isolate the characters?
Well, let's just
Or
first
it's
off
newer.
talk. Let's just start off general talk.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is this thing that they call snow? It doesn't seem terribly realistic.
I think that the concept of hard water is revolting.
And even fluffy hard water, unrealistic. I don't think it exists.
I don't think it exists either. Personally, I have never seen a tree, let alone multiple.
I know, right? I don't think.
All we know.
I mean, surely with that much snow.
What's with the lack of cacti?
Yeah. Why don't any of the plants in here have spines or store water through the harsh winter in which they get no rain?
How do they survive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't animals eat them all since they don't have spines to protect them?
0 out of 10. That's my review of Frostmaiden. Overall, I really like this one. I do.
Yeah.
It has everything that I like. So I'll kind of back up a little bit. I played a lot of Skyrim. I only played mods. I only played mods when Special Edition first came out because my computer. I didn't. Because I would try to mod it and then I would completely destroy my computer doing so.
Oh
And then
dear.
I would just basically make the game unplayable, and I'll be like, okay, that was a fun endeavor, and then I would never play. I didn't play through the full game.
Yeah.
But then they came out with Special Edition, and could mod it on console, and it was a more structured environment
Mhm.
for me, so that I could just install the mod, and all I had to do was focus on which order they were in to make sure
Mhm.
that they loaded correctly. But overall, there is a mod. I forgot what it's called. It's essentially, it turns Skyrim into a survival experience in the north.
Ah.
So, that being said,
It feels like that.
yes, I would always use that mod. I like the survival aspect of some things,
Mhm.
the idea of going on a journey and you have to you're still like a great adventurer and all this stuff, but like you know having to forage for food, having to worry about do I have enough warm clothes? If it rains or snow, do I have the equipment necessary to make sure that I'm warm enough?
Having a ranger would be incredibly useful in this setting
God.
as a
Yes,
survivalist.
I would play if I were playing it, I would play a ranger, and if I was running it, I would make them feel guilty for not having a ranger.
Yeah.
Everyone needs
give them an NPC.
Give them an NPC.
Yeah.
There's plenty of NPCs to give them, honestly.
I don't think there's a ranger specifically. There's a lot of mage NPCs, which is weird because they say you're really unlikely to find any magical items up here in the north. And then they stick a whole bunch of
Well, I think it's just like the nature
mages.
of like the NPCs themselves. Like I'm sure there are rangers because it just doesn't. I just don't think they're like as noticeable.
That's true.
Because when you're using magic, you're like, ooh, it's flashy, sparkles.
Stands out.
But like when you're a ranger, it's like, yeah, I shoot an arrow occasionally.
Yeah.
And
I can survive in any environment. I'm hardy and I know what I'm doing. I have the common sense and the skills to make it to our destination so we can loot the dungeon in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, no, a ranger, this is like a ranger's paradise right here.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically written in response to, rangers are great and all, but you never use any of their their abilities that help you survive, so it's like... Well, I mean, not in this edition.
Yeah.
But again, survival skills was more of a general thing that you had to get in 3.5.
Yep. That was more broken down into,
into separate, categories.
Yeah, so, tracking.
So, looking survival. Over, the survival, that survival aspect, I really like. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, it feels like they really kick the survival aspect into high gear in the second chapter.
Yeah.
Once you kind of left 10 Towns. I kind of wish they had... I mean, some of the 10 Towns quests take you out of 10 Towns proper and into exploring the broader world. I kind of wish that they had done a little more. Because you feel very stuck in 10 Towns for the first chapter, and then you're out of 10 Towns.
Yeah.
For the next few, and just the way that the leveling works, I kind of wish they had kind of gone back and forth, because that allows you to incorporate some of the early 10 Towns quests are very plot relevant, overarching plot relevant, and I think it would work better if you could...
you could mix and match.
Yeah, but it's harder to mix and match between Chapter 1 quests and Chapter 2 quests, because obviously Chapter 2 quests are much higher level, and you'd have to really... either nerf Chapter 2 quests to put them in with the Chapter 1 ones, or buff Chapter 1 quests to put them in Chapter 2.
Yeah. Realistically, trying to think about, how they would do... Because I feel like it's a problem of getting the players used to the survival aspect of it. Yeah. So, you're traveling from town to town doing these things, and the idea is... because before you go off into... the furthest reaches of a giant mountain covered in snow, then you might be away from civilization for a while. You have a good idea of, A, how long it takes you to travel, B, how much supplies you would eat up in that time.
Yeah.
So,
and that makes sense, but, I think if they had put, one Dwergar quest in Chapter 2 instead of putting them all in Chapter 1... I think that would have been...
I didn't notice it. Let's see.
Because there's one that kind of relates to the Frozen City. There's, in Chapter 2, there's a couple of dragon-associated ones. Things like that. There's the barbarian tribes and the giant tribes. Things like that, but there isn't really anything that relates directly to either the Dwergar or Auro. Yeah. And those are the major plot points that come right after that. It would make more sense to have something in there to connect it to it at those levels, just from a plotting, storytelling standpoint.
Yeah. It's definitely more of a middle section.
Yeah.
Again, chapters 1 and 2 seem more prepping. I I mean, you can always throw in Dwergar.
Yeah, wherever you want, just stick them in with the
Like,
anywhere really, even with the nautiloids or the squids or the.
yeah, which is good. Look at that
Snowy owl bear is so cute.
They made him so chubby, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because he looks like a polar.
He's so fluffy.
He looks more like he has the equipment necessary to survive in the winter.
Yeah.
I can get that. From a storytelling standpoint, you kind of need. The players need reminders of that sort of thing.
Yeah, especially when you have all these locations out there in Icewind Dale, and they're very cool, but they're not really relating to the overall plot of this module. Like Revel's End, a very cool setting. Like a prison up at the far north, or Frozen Wasteland, but there's not really. I mean, unless you have a character who has a backstory that involves Revel's End, there's nothing in here to attach it to anything, I don't think.
You know, it is a really. You could probably expand it into something really nice. Definitely. Yeah. I feel like that's a good part of it. Clarification, I'm not too familiar with the Dritz legacy or anything like that, so I don't know. I don't have any reference on how much of this was added in for that sake.
That's true. I've only read the first 3 or 4 books out of the Drizzt series. Drizzt.
The Drizzle.
The Drizzt.
The B series.
Just putting the sound like a cell phone vibrating every time I have to say Drizzt. Yeah, I think there's probably a bunch of settings in here that are in there just because that's where Drizzt and the Icewind Dale novels were, but I mean, I never read that far into them. The first few that I read were taking place in the Underdark, so.
Yeah, there could be some overlap. Then again, like, I feel like a part of it is, because after you hit Chapter 2, after you're done with Chapter 2, it goes right into Chapter 3, and then you're just running between towns again.
Yeah, well, not really.
Like, well...
What? The towns are... Spoiler here, they're destroyed. And you can't avoid at least 1 or 2 of them getting completely destroyed.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like, it was kind of, like, clear that since, like, Chapter 4 is chasing down the dragon to prevent him from destroying all of them, you weren't going to prevent the dragon from leaving by Chapter 3.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They don't even give you, like, the option.
Like, it's not even like a, oh, there it is, it's almost done, or you can stop it for leaving me. It's done, it's gone.
As soon as you arrive at the fortress where the dragon is, it takes off and starts attacking.
And then from there, you either skip the entirety of Chapter 3
yeah,
and just go after it to Chapter 4, or you go in...
Yeah. I guess you could always come back after stopping it, and you can then... Or you can let it destroy 10 towns and then deal with it later, but,
You just spent, like, the entirety of the first 2 chapters...
Yeah.
So, like, that's what I like about the structure of this campaign.
You also have no real reason to go to Aurel's Island, unless, like, if you're willing to let the entirety of 10 towns be destroyed, you're willing to let so many people die.
Yeah, I think that's why the last portion of it is just an awesome, cool...
It's an exploration thing. There's no real plot.
There's no
for the
real
last
plot.
couple of chapters.
There's no real plot, but, like, also, I would be all over that.
Yeah.
Like, as a player...
It's cool. It would be excellent to work into an Underdark storyline, I think, if you were planning to go, because this only goes up to, what, level 11?
Yeah.
After level 11, if you were going to go...
There's also a lot of...
Bring it down into the Underdark, because there are some entrances to the Underdark in the caves before the city, or the final city, Ythrin? There's a couple of...
The Gith and the Yith.
Yep.
The Yith.
The Yith.
Not the other furry thing.
Ythrin.
But,
Yeah.
So, like... So starting off, we should probably go a little bit into, like, the structure overall.
Yeah.
It starts out, first 2 chapters, first chapter you're going around and doing very simple quests to help out 10 towns, and they have a kind of, which I really like, they have this like popularity system
Yeah.
where you have a desire to go around and help these towns because doing so makes them like you more, and it's easier for you to get stuff from them.
Yeah,
So,
tangible rewards.
like they'll like you more. They'll be more willing to give you supplies and help you out. And the more towns that you have helped, the better those rewards are. And those they're popular. They have they have the snowflake system.
Yeah.
Which is adorable. I think there's a good distance of travel between like the different towns.
Yeah, there's at least a couple of hours, even if you're on a dog sled.
Like, it does make sense that they're so close together, though.
Yeah.
So like the first one is like gaining favor by just doing a few of these quests. This campaign has a hard milestone leveling system, which is, I think it's like after five of the level 1 quests, you can start doing, you level up to level, I think it's like you're supposed to be level 4 by the time you start level 2. Sorry, chapter 2.
Yeah.
And then...
But you can then keep doing 10 towns quests even after.
It just says don't level up your players anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like a hard milestone leveling system.
Yeah.
And then from there, you go high. It tells you where you want to be.
Yeah, there is a certain... Like, I would be careful of the order in which you let your players do some of these quests. I mean, it is kind of dependent upon where they decide that they want to go. But the way it's kind of set up, it's very reminiscent of... we were talking about this earlier, like the way that you might set up a television show, where a lot of campaigns and modules do it like a movie, where you have one storyline that goes on and you get more information on that storyline and that storyline alone, like this event, then this event, then this event, and they all lead into one story. But this setting, you have several different storylines that kind of converge, and your opening quests not all of them relate to it, but some of them do, and that lets you set it up like a television show, and where it's like the first episode, then the 5th, then the 7th, then the 9th.
So like
then 10th and 11th are all
what's
major
big right
plot
now
lines.
is Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's been making a comeback because it got added to Netflix, I think, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It's very much reminiscent of, so you just go around and do these things for these towns, and you get to know the people there, and
every once in a while something leads into the bigger plot.
Yeah, like you hear, and like there's a lot of points where it talks about what certain people know, what the towns know, what the rumors are. So it's very So in order to build intrigue, it is very dependent on you as the DM planting these little seeds in the players' minds of things that they might want to look into and might want to know more about. So this campaign probably would not work as well for a group that is very, very gung-ho. Yeah. This campaign is very episodic. It seems to be relatively roleplay heavy.
It's not terribly political either, which if you're like super into like political machinations and things like that, like you're not gonna be
there's like a smidge of it, but like the overall thing is that the towns, they're in such a harsh environment that why would they ever want to lose the benefit of being allied with each other? Yeah. They don't want to upset the other towns, really.
Yeah, even if they do have their little rivalries between themselves.
Yeah, and they do disagree with the decisions of one town over another. But overall, there is no like political intrigue. But it's set up so that like the entirety of chapter 1 is developing the people in the setting. It's getting your characters to relate and want to help better the lives of the folk
people of 10 towns
that they will be saving. Chapter 2 is exploring the outer reaches, getting more of an idea of the harsh environment and more adventure-y kind of stuff. You know, you hear
longer quests, more dungeon delving kind of things. A couple of these are straight up dungeons that you can delve.
Yeah, no, some of these it does have some really good dungeons. So I want to talk about a really early quest I had I'm not sure if this is actually chapter 1. If it's not chapter 1, I will save it.
Which one?
The one with the black swords.
Ah. Oh, that's chapter 1.
Yeah. So I actually really like that.
That's interesting, but then they don't do too much with the black swords, because if your party decides to take them all out immediately, then
there's so many.
Yeah.
This is where it runs into the problem of it's all a matter of creativity again, like because this is just like a framework. You can from there kind of depends on the DM expanding upon this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that. I really like that adventure as a starting, like just as one of the starting adventures. So the Black Swords is a cult has taken over, a demonic cult. Just
a 6th level demon, a demon on the 6th level of the 9 hells, has started saving people who would otherwise be frozen out in the snow in return for their loyalty.
So clarification. So this. We'll talk about the general plot real quick, just to clear things up. We're gonna go all over the place. It's fine.
Yeah.
So some of the plot lines here are the
Dwergar.
Are the Dwergar. So the Frostmaiden Azrael has for some reason taken to the top of a mountain and just decided that this is gonna be the place where she lives, and she's just gonna keep the entire place cold and miserable for as long as she wants to.
Yeah, she wants it to stay exactly as it is. Because she likes to freeze things of beauty and
we'll talk about like theme later on if people are into like deconstructing stories.
Yeah, every night she casts a spell that will keep the sun from rising to like midday at some point. So it's basically a perpetual night and or twilight, which actually happens in the north.
Yeah, except they still get like a week or two of like nice weather.
They get summers.
They may be brief, but they're still summers.
Yeah.
But as a result, things are kind of going awry.
Yeah.
You have the Dwergar. There's a specific Dwergar who has been inspired by what he thinks is who was it?
One of their gods.
He thinks that this god is speaking to him and telling him that it's his mission it's his destiny to like go to the surface and conquer 10 towns. And
it's specifically because the Frostmaiden, Azrael has brought about this perpetual night because obviously they're an Underdark race and they can't, they don't do well in bright sunlight, but now that everything is dark, they think, perfect timing.
So he starts doing this, and it's all about how do you pronounce it?
Shardlin?
Shardlin?
Shardlin? Yeah.
It's like a metal. The metal has some type of demonic magic in it. Or
Chardlin. Yeah. Chardlin.
I'll just call it
Charizard.
Frozen
Charizards. The main plot of this module is finding frozen Charizards.
You have to find, the Mega Evolution version that's like black and blue. It's that one.
It's that. That's what Azrael is.
Ice type. You have to find all the frozen Charizards and conquer 10 towns.
Yeah, with an army of frozen Charizards.
So he's collecting this metal. This metal has some type of like devilish force in it. So it inherently can corrupt things and tie things. Yeah, it's like a little crack in the seam of the planes that allows things from the 9 hell to slip through sometimes.
Yeah, it's sort of extraplanar touched metal.
Yeah,
very powerful, but mind corrupting.
Yeah, so this god that he thinks is speaking to him is actually Asmodeus.
Yeah,
and he's pretending has this ruse that he is the god, and he's actually just trying to get this guy to destroy all these little towns.
Because Dwergar like to destroy dwarven stuff, and there's a lot of doors.
He's still like following this Asmodeus in the guise of a god. He's still following Asmodeus, so all the souls are going to Asmodeus.
Yeah.
So, as a result, so that's one of the plot lines.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this plan to build a giant dragon, a giant Charizard out of this metal.
Yeah.
A giant metal ice Charizard.
He's trying to make a dragon. He's making a giant Charizard, yeah.
He's trying to make this giant dragon that will fly around and go destroy all of 10 towns.
Yeah.
And one of the things is to stop him.
Yeah.
The other thing is the perpetual darkness, which eventually should probably be dealt with.
The perpetual darkness and the Wizards of Thay.
Yeah, the Wizards of Thay.
Who are looking for something up in the north, and they could use your help.
Yeah. it's like everything overall is caused by this perpetual winter.
Yeah.
The Wizards of Thay are actually just incidentally there.
Yeah. By complete coincidence.
Suspicious coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Just coincidence.
Yeah.
It could be suspicious if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, that could be.
So that's like the early main plot line, the Dwergar.
Yeah.
And then it kind of moves into more the Wizards of Thay.
Yeah. Wizards of Thay and the darkness. The immediate problem, obviously, is the imminent destruction of 10 towns by the Dwergar, and then once you deal with that...
It's kind of implied that you want to still stress that this perpetual darkness is a problem that needs to be dealt with.
You cannot leave Icewind Dale because of the blizzards.
Yeah, so we're talking about this, how Wizards of the Coast, or in general, seems to do its best when you are confined in a singular area by some arbitrary means. It doesn't matter what you're...
And there's a couple of reasons for that, I think we talked about. One, it keeps you there and you have to do the quests, and there's, extra, sort of like meta reasons why you can't leave, and that. But also because it kind of levels out the player knowledge and the character knowledge.
And it also levels out, like, the motivations, too. So, like, in Curse of Strahd, the characters want to be together because they all recently got stuck in this horrible place and they want out, so they're like, we're gonna... And then Strahd was like, hey, you guys seem cool. That's why you're here. And they're like, okay, we need out. Let's get out. Similarly, this perpetual darkness it's existed for 2 years. Anything that enters cannot leave. They can't really get supplies from the outside world.
Yeah. It keeps you from, wandering out saying, hello, my friend Red Dragon. Perhaps we could convince you to,
there's a lot of,
do some fire breathing.
There's, like, a lot of background stuff that it kind of wants your players to be residents of 10 towns or from the Icewind Dale in some way. But that's not necessarily an option because everyone's trapped there anyways.
Yeah.
So, having your players be from the Icewind Dales / 10 towns is probably the best way to go about it because then they automatically have an emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
But it's not entirely necessary because, people that are playing D&D are typically, unless you're doing, like, an evil campaign, they're trying to accomplish something.
I think you could do an evil campaign with this easily. I think it would be interesting to play a Dwergar who actually follows the god that the main Dwergar villain thinks he follows.
Also,
and have found out that he's not, and he's taking followers. Yeah. The Wizards of Thay are fairly evil, so you could do a Dwergar, you could do Drow.
There's
not that Drow always have to be played as evil, yada yada, but...
Obviously.
Yeah. Dritz.
Ignore it. We won't talk about Dritz.
Neither of us particularly like the character of Dritz.
I have personal beef with Dritz. He had killed my family when I was a small child, and now I have made it my one goal in life to get revenge.
Yep. I just think he's...
I just...
annoying.
He's a lot to deal with. If you like him, there's places where you can either... You as a player can like explore that. You can know about the character. You can know about
bring in like plot points from the novels like, and stuff.
Like one of the secrets is Dritz fan.
Yeah, you're secretly a Dritz fanboy.
And you have a small piece of his iconic green cloak.
Yeah.
Oh my! And I'm like, and it's nothing else. That's just it. But like it.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like. I'd keep that a secret if that were me.
There's like the secret. So like player options wise, there's the these secrets. I love the secrets. The secrets
The
are
secrets
great.
are cool.
So
yeah.
it's supposed to add like an aura of like something for your character to hide from the rest of the party. That's not necessarily evil or bad or like malicious, but it's just something about their past that they don't want anyone else to know.
Yeah.
Like one of them's like raised by Yeti.
Yeah, that one's cute.
That one's cute. So, but
the littlest Yeti.
but it gives you benefits as well. So like because you were raised by Yeti, you can talk to them, and all the Yeti quests or anytime you interact with a Yeti,
you know more. Yeah.
You can know more about them and actually get out of that get a non-violent solution to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's one where you're actually a doppelganger. There's like
that
an early.
One's cool.
There's an early like. There's also an early quest that references it and says like, she casts Moonbeam, and if you're the doppelganger, your true form gets revealed.
Yeah, and there's like Midwinter Child and.
Like you're resistant to cold damage.
Yeah, because you have Auril's blessing.
Which would add a lot of intrigue when you actually go and confront her.
Yeah.
There's actually very little about Auril herself.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I actually kind of like that because I like...
She's kind of elusive, and you can't actually kill her because she is a god.
Yeah, so like you can... There is a combat. She does have three... She has three forms. She has three stat blocks. She's not that powerful. There is lore reasons why. Because her casting this... Her being on the mortal plane and casting this spell is basically her choosing to use... She's been... She's been on the mortal plane. She's giving out her power to like warlocks and followers of hers, whatever followers she has left. She doesn't have many followers, so like she already is not too powerful of a goddess to begin with.
Because a lot of her gods in her not her gods, but the gods in her pantheon turned against her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go into that if you want to. We're probably not going to too much. We're going to probably talk about her as a character more.
Yeah.
So, so she's basically, like, using whatever free magic she has left to just cast this spell and then go to her lonely little mountaintop and make ice sculptures.
Yeah.
She has this thing where, like, she likes this, like, the beauty of stillness.
Yeah,
like,
or when she sees something beautiful, she wants to keep it that way. Always, never changing.
Yeah, she's like her personality. She's described as like generally indifferent, and like kind of apathetic and cold and distant, and it's like I like likening it to depression.
Yeah.
She's like not being sad. She's not like sorrow, but she's not joy. She's just hard middle line. I don't care. I just like pretty things, and I'm gonna freeze them.
Yeah.
And so, if she sees something like she likes, she freezes it. And she like it says that like if the characters see her at all, she doesn't. If they try to interact with her, she doesn't care about them. She just goes about her own thing.
Yeah.
It's very, and I love that because I like it when like immortal beings treat. Like they're not like subjugating mortals or they're not like commanding them, but they still feel like a character in the fact that they
have their own motivations.
They have their own motivations and they're too powerful to care about anyone lesser.
Yeah.
They like to them it's just like it's like worrying about like some squirrels in a tree to them. Mm-hmm. They genuinely don't care about them.
Yeah.
They don't
like they might on a whim give the squirrel some, nuts or whatever, or they might set their dog on the squirrel because they find it annoying.
Yeah, so like, but she just passes by. She doesn't care. So she's not seeing this so generally she has no real motivation, which is kind of why her plot line is like the way it is. She doesn't have any motivation. She's not like conniving and mischievous. She's not planning anything. She just chose this cold place to live and she wants to keep it cold.
Yep.
Forever. And it's been 2 years since she's taken there, and people are suffering.
Yeah.
And nobody knows why. There is no real reason why. It's just a matter of this is the coldest place in Faerun, and this is where I'm gonna live because I'm the cold one.
Yep.
which I really like. From like a story perspective, and well, not from a story perspective, it's dubious. It can be done right or it can be done wrong.
Yeah.
From a character's perspective, I love that.
Yeah.
I love characters that don't necessarily have motivation, like in terms of like villainy.
Mm-hmm.
Like protagonists are another thing, but characters that are so set in stone, like they have their own mindset. Because it really forces you to be in like the mind of this character.
Mm-hmm.
They're not planning it; they're just living their life, and that's it. And it just so happens that it's affecting the world around them.
Yeah, but they do specify in the book, like, you cannot convince Auril to lift her spell. You have to defeat her and take away the power that she has to do it, because you can't convince her. She doesn't care what a bunch of annoying, puny mortals have to say to her.
Like, she has followers, but I don't think she necessarily cares about them either.
Yeah.
She's more, it's very much like the beauty of stillness.
Mm-hmm.
She just does her thing away from everyone else in isolation, and that's it.
Yep.
So that's the other plot. That's the overarching, like, problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the Wizards of Thay, as we've talked about. So, I forgot the name of the civilization. It's mentioned multiple times in multiple campaigns. Yeah. Ancient civilization of magic people that lived in sky cities.
It's not the Netheril, is it?
It is the Netheril.
Maybe. The Netheril, yeah.
They had a city that fell and was frozen in a glacier, and it's in the Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
The Wizards of Thay want to go find it and find some treasure in it, and that's what they want. They just want the magic power, and they will. They're not necessarily villains, but they're not exactly allies. If you want to go, like, if you want to help them, or if they see mutual benefit in it.
All of the wizards are rivals, because even though it's against the code of their order to fight with each other,
they're not in their country.
They're nowhere near their actual overseers, and they are all competing for
power,
prestige,
and
power.
And prestige.
So if you want to ally yourself with one of them, you're going to make an enemy of another, and so forth. You get the chance to choose if you want to ally yourselves with any of them
or none of them.
Yeah.
But they want some power that's in the city that had fallen and is now in this glacier, and it just so happens that in that same power that they want is the only thing that can stop the never-ending winter.
Other than defeating Auril. Although, this is kind of a mechanic thing. Maybe I should save this for after we discuss the plot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the general plot. That's where the plot lines are. That's how they kind of interconnect. Mm-hmm. Between that, there's other, like, little linking things, like
minor quests, that cult we mentioned earlier.
That's what we were actually going off of when we were talking about, like, individual quests. We can go into quests and characters now as I finish.
Nice. My favorite character I decided immediately right off the top is Nimsy Huddle, who is the speaker for one of the towns, the, like, most remote, isolated town full of, like, vagabonds, scoundrels, this is the place where the worst of the worst go to.
Whimsy Muddle.
Yeah. Just a completely, Nimsy something. Just to get away from their past and whoever might be coming after them. And the speaker for the town is this cheerful little old halfling woman who, when she wants you to do a quest, will try to get you to accept payment in cookies. And Lonelywood. It's Lonelywood. Her name is
Lonelywood,
Nimsy Huddle.
With the moose.
Yeah. It's the cutest thing. I love her so much. Her and her children. And they're, like, the only friendly people in town. But they'll let you stay for free in her attic, and she'll bake you cookies shaped like little halfling, like ginger halfling cookies.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of like one of those things where, like, everyone goes here, mostly because this person that runs it is so sweet.
Yeah. I would love,
What if she had, like, a stat block and you could,
I would love to have a stat block for Nimsy Huddle. I would love her to secretly be, like,
a badass
head
warrior.
of the entire Thieves Guild in all of Icewind Dale.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or she's just super awesome and retired, and everyone in Lonelywood kind of knows it. But I also like the idea of just everyone in Lonelywood going, we're electing her because she's nice. We all can't get along with each other, but...
She can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Like, the worst thing that she's ever done to me, personally, is accidentally burnt a cookie once.
Mm-hmm.
She accidentally stepped on my foot, and it didn't hurt because she's a halfling.
Yeah.
I actually like Dazan.
Dazan, which one is...
He's the wizard that dies when you're walking into a town.
Yeah,
He's burned at the stake. But he has a simulacrum. That's still, because he was a
so
wizard.
You can meet his
He was a wizard of
ghost,
Thay.
or,
He was one of the wizards of Thay, and he was going off on this adventure, and he got burned at the stake, and his simulacrum is still around. He doesn't know he's dead yet, because he's still waiting around for the original to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get it. So this kind of ties back into what I was going to say about the cult quest is I have a love-hate relationship with the alignment chart. I have a love-hate relationship with the alignment system. Mostly it's not due to the system itself, it's due to the perception of the system.
Yeah.
Where good means you're good no matter what, and evil means that you're just dastardly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an incorrect interpretation of it. Good is more benevolence, whereas evil is selfishness.
Yeah, the way I always view it, and I talked about this before, is if you're good, it means you put the well-being or the interests of others ahead of yourself, even at great expense to yourself. And to be evil means that you put your own well-being ahead of the well-being of others, even at great expense to others. And to be neutral is to, sit in the middle where you will put the good of others before yourself so long as the costs aren't too high, and vice versa.
Yeah. So, I feel like that's too often just lost, where things because there's too much neutrality.
Yeah.
In that case, because everyone would probably classify as neutral in most cases.
Yeah.
In this campaign, it kind of leans more into that interpretation of it,
mm-hmm.
where you have a lot of characters that are categorized as evil, and especially with this cult, where they appear evil, and they may be evil, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're antagonists or that they have to be defeated.
Yeah, they're not really. I mean, they are holding the speaker of the town hostage.
But also everyone agrees that they're doing fine without the speaker.
They're doing fine without the speaker. They're not actually doing much to harm anybody. They're kind of just sitting up there, and these are all a group of people who are, they're not pleasant people, but they're not...
It's because, it's revealed that, the speaker is just a fat king laying on a bed of gold. He doesn't really care about the people, and
mm-hmm.
that's why they usurped him, kind of.
Obviously, the devil that's kind of leading them is gonna have bigger plans eventually, but at the moment, his influence is overshadowed, A, by Asmodeus, and B, by Auril.
Yeah, so the reason why...
And actually having him there could be a benefit to you in fighting Asmodeus.
So actually, the cult itself, because it's explained in that section,
mm-hmm.
that their goal, that devil's goal is not to do anything to the towns. It's nothing. His only motivation is to stop Asmodeus from
doing whatever he's doing, and Asmodeus is trying to destroy the town. So at this point in time, the enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Yeah, because his goal is to, Asmodeus wants to destroy the town so he's more powerful. I want to prevent that, so that's kind of why he has usurped this overseer, or his cult has usurped this overseer, because he wasn't a good overseer.
Yeah.
So his cult has taken over and is now controlling the town, because they're just better at running the town.
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point in Icewind Dale, people can't really afford strict morals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
which sounds really bleak and depressing, and it kind of is, but everyone is starving to death.
Yeah, so this story, if you read, like, the afterword, it's very inspired by horror.
Yeah.
Not to say that's a horror campaign, it's not.
You could lean into the horror.
You definitely could.
But they also provide, I really like that they provide a few quests and a few moments, like with Nimsy Huddle and the Fox and the Chwinga quest.
Yeah.
And a few others where there's moments of, like, lightness and happiness that kind of counterbalance it. Like, oh, that's good. There's something to keep, fighting for.
And that's very evident, especially with, like, just the starting quest, where you're given different options on what starting quest to take. You can either take any of the town-specific quests. There's one quest for each town.
Mm-hmm. And then there's 2 starting quests that you choose one or the other.
Yeah,
and if you decide not to do... If you do one, you can't do the other, or you can decide not to do either.
Yeah, and you can just do a town quest.
Yeah,
but the two starting quests are, one's just a combat quest, where you go off, kill some enemies that are troubling this town, and return.
Hunt down a murderer, I think.
Yeah, the other one is...
Chwingas, where basically it's completely combat free.
Yeah, no, it's somebody needs your help finding this thing, finding these frost spirits.
Called Chwingas. Yeah, that's what Chwingas are. I should have said what Chwingas were the first time I mentioned them.
They're really cute. I love them.
They are adorable.
But she thinks that finding one may help her study and figure out how to stop the darkness in the sky. Mm-hmm. So you just have to go find one, and they're just small little guys. They're pretty friendly. Your players don't have to combat them at all. Because they're found and they're like pretending, they're like moving forks and knives and pretending to eat.
Yeah, but they're tiny, so the plates are bigger than them.
So
there's art of it. It's super cute.
So there's like 2 of them moving the fork and the knife, and one sitting on the plate and like pretending to eat. And if you sit down and pretend to eat with them, they'll like you, and
they'll just go with you.
And then one will just follow you for a few days, for like a week or something.
Yeah.
And then actually your player will get a boon from it.
Yeah.
So there's like a benefit to it.
If you're nice to the Chwingas, that's what the Fox and the Chwinga quest is at one point someone returns to the town, he gives you advice on another quest, but he has a fox with him that he caught in a trap, and it's not hurt or anything, and you can buy it off of him for super cheap and take it with you if you just happen to like the fox, or you think, oh, this might help us hunt because foxes are predatory and they can track. You can then go out into the town and find a Chwinga, or out of the town and find a Chwinga, and if you let the Chwinga make friends and ride off on the fox, like, the Chwinga will give it a berry and make friends with it. And if you let it do that, then you get a boon yourself, and it's the sweetest thing.
Yeah, I know, I love the Chwingas.
They're so cute.
But, like, it's just moments of levity in, like, this really kind of bleak setting, because, like, contrary to that, the white moose is kind of bleak. I might be thinking... Oh, no, it is...
The white moose is quite bleak, because that leaves you to the graveyard. Yeah, the elven graveyard. The elven graveyard is super cool.
Yeah. And the Hold Up, I think? Yeah. It's the one where the wolves are kidnapping...
Oh, yeah.
So there's a town where these 2 winter wolves are seen, and people are going missing.
Yeah.
But it turns out that these winter wolves are like kidnapping these people and bringing them back to this hut of this frost giant who had reanimated a mammoth And
like a frost giant druid.
Yeah. And this mammoth was like its pet, and then the frost giant died, and that frost giant was killed.
Yeah.
And that mammoth is really upset about it, so they take these people, they lure them back to the hut, so that the mammoth can get revenge on humanoids, and by killing them.
Yeah.
And like the people are actually still alive. The winter wolves seem to be relatively like friendly, in all honesty.
I mean, they are trying to lead you to your death. They're very schemy.
Yeah, they're very
Machiavellian.
But like they're not exactly malicious, because they were keeping those two alive.
Yeah.
Because they wanted money, but like.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know what they would do with it. They are intelligent creatures, so maybe they would do something with it.
Yeah.
But that is like a really kind of dark one. Just like it's just this angry mammoth that's just murdering people.
Yeah, I think you find the body of one of those Chwingas in like a few kobolds wandered in and accidentally killed the Chwinga, or they killed it because it startled them. And you can find like the body. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah, and then like
whiplash.
There's also like weird xenomorph stuff that you can do. Like one of the secrets is, I think, isn't one of the secrets like a slag one where like you have like a slag growing inside you, like a xenomorph.
Yep.
Like a chest burster.
And at some point, they recommend that it happens while you're on Owl's doing like her prove yourself worthy trials things. Like it pops out then, or when you're alone or something horrifying happens. Yeah.
Yeah, so it has weird.
Just when you think.
So like
couldn't get any worse.
So like when we say like moments of levity in like this super bleak setting, we're talking because it was inspired by horror. They specifically referenced The Thing and the novella At the Mountains of Madness.
Yeah.
Which is where you kind of see the. I'm gonna. Where?
Yeah, it also contains nods to The Shining and Alien. Yeah.
Chestbursters.
Yep.
So it's very.
Of course, when I think of Chestbursters, I always think of Spaceballs, the frog jumping out and singing "Ragtime Gal," which is not the tone they're going for.
Yeah, we kind of have like a good dichotomy of interests here, where I like really grim, dark settings. You like really lighthearted stuff.
Yeah, you like the tragedy with the comic relief. I like the comedy with the tragic relief.
Yeah. So it's a nice neutral gown with a lot of realism.
Yeah,
I feel.
I quite like that. Yeah.
But so you get like hints of that, and that can only be accentuated in what your players seem to react to better, and what they seem to take more interest in.
Or how your players do it.
Yeah.
I think the players do have a big hand in the tone of it. I remember when you were running Curse of Strahd and I felt so bad for you trying really hard to make Strahd a dramatic character, and everyone in the party, anytime we figured out that like the hills have ears kind of thing and he could hear us.
Yeah, and they would just yell insults.
Just anytime his name was said, immediately everyone in the party had to insult him at the top of my lungs, and they were really stupid insults too. It kind of kept the tone from getting too highbrow.
But I think that was more of a problem with too many people.
Yeah.
This campaign does actually need it is like a recommended 6-person campaign.
Yeah.
That's
pretty big.
Yeah, I would say the earlier chapters, if you wanted to spend a lot of time on them, is actually a pretty good opener. Like if you were new, like because it has a lot of good structure elements. It does a lot to explain what you need to do, what kind of supplemental like work you need to do.
Yeah.
It's quite evident in that, and it's very loose. It's both very loose and very guided. That's an oxymoron.
It kind of holds your hand through the first few
it's
simple
like Breath of the
quests,
Wild.
But then once you're out in the wider world, you've got some options for like clever thinking, which is nice because 5e doesn't always encourage like clever strategizing.
Definitely not. But this one, it clearly points out. It takes you as the DM aside and said, hey, if your players want, they can actually do it this way, and they don't have to and they don't have to do the obvious way, or they can go this way, or they can go that way, and that's really helpful, especially as like a new DM, like who like maybe has like little experience like in that sort of thing, and so because they're such simple basic quests, there's not too much to go wrong. There's not too many like intertwining stuff and to tangle up with the character interests.
Yeah, if something has to happen for the plot to continue, they simply do not give your characters the chance at all to mess that up.
And it's not like one of those ways where it's like what you said with your family, like where this person was supposed to get away, and then they just stopped him.
Because they had a way, or I was trying to run Horde of the Dragon Queen, like the third session or something. They're meant to,
like back when 5e
you're either meant to like disguise yourself to get into this bandit camp to rescue the prisoners, or just raid it head on, and those are the only two options that the book goes into. These are the mechanics to follow if they do this. My group decided, well, we'll sneak around the back, take out the guards, and sneak in under cover of darkness.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty obvious thing to do, I would think, but the book did not cover, like,
and I think that's
who, like, outer guards, climbing or scaling the guard walls or anything like that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like especially like evident in like how the interests of 5th edition kind of conflict with like the XP system.
Yeah.
Which is why this one elected to forego the options. Well, like clearly stating the options and just said, this is how many quests you need to complete to get leveled
to the next level. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like first chapter you level up after every quest. You keep doing you're not going to get any more levels. You just get reputation.
Yeah. Like my uncle's 3.5 campaign. I'm gonna reference a whole bunch of campaigns now. No, know what I'm talking about.
At least we don't have to talk about the Malkavian cow incident.
No, that wasn't even D&D. That was Vampire the Gathering.
That wasn't even
Vampire the Gathering, Changeling the Gathering. It's
Magic the Gathering.
No, it's Changeling the Lost, Magic the Gathering, and Vampire the Masquerade. I took 3 completely separate properties there and just confused them all. The Malkavian cow was a Vampire the Masquerade LARP.
Vampire the Curse Gathering.
Magic Vampire the Gathering. No, Magic Vampire the Lost.
Yeah.
Something like that. No, but we kept getting followed, which was meant to be sort of, you know, either letting us know that people are watching us, there are further forces at work, and normally what you would expect is, okay, you either turn around and confront them and start a fight, or you try to slip your tail, or you lead them the wrong place, or whatever. But what my aunt decided to do was walk up to the guy and go, Bob, you've returned to me! I knew you wouldn't really leave me for Tiffany, with an I. And it became just our modus operandi, was anytime anyone followed us, was her just walking up and going, Bob! Basically annoying them into submission, but it worked super well. Eventually, she scared the guy off back to his base of operations, and she hung out outside for a while, just banging on the door, going, I forgive you, Bob! Just come out! Let me in!
I love the concept of just like a spy just not knowing how to handle that
just
situation.
Immediately being called out and just no. You think you're gonna follow us? Oh no.
Sorry, not happening.
It helps that we had a 3.5, obviously, lots of skills. Skills work differently in 3.5 than 5th edition. And our ranger has put like all of her points into spot. So she's got like plus 20, plus 15 to her spot checks. So she can spot someone immediately and then just go, hey, Irma.
Alright.
But it's just something that
5th edition
would not account for that.
Yeah.
would not account for your party deciding to attempt to walk up and annoy them into submission.
Yeah, and I feel
it
like
would not fit. It didn't fit with the tone of that campaign all the time.
sometimes your players just decide to do stupid things.
Yeah, and sometimes it really works. Sometimes your players are going to come up with stuff that you're like, well, there goes that secret. There goes that whole next session, because that got completely ruined now that they've found the base of operations and figured out who they are.
Well, there goes that 6 months of travel now cut down due to clever questioning.
Pretty much.
But yeah, no, it's always a fun time. But like having like clear goals that you're like not only just having motivations, because like a lot of the Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Baldur's Gate, and Curse of Strahd, like they all have like things that that the villains are doing. They should be here at a certain time. Mm-hmm. This one kind of does the same thing, but it does it in a way that it's there, but it's loose enough for you to add in different goals, like different steps that they have to take, or like different paths, because it's not like a clear set. They should be here. They should be here. They should be linked to this. They wouldn't. There's enough ambiguity so that you as a DM can say, okay, well, I'm gonna tie this into this and this into this because my players seem to like more of this stuff.
Yeah.
We keep on going back to the cult. My main point with the cult is you don't actually have to stop the cult. You can actually befriend the cult, and it's beneficial because this devil sees it as beneficial because you guys are clearly doing a lot of good stuff. So if you don't like appear as enemies to the cult, they will actively help you.
Yeah, like the cult is loose enough that you could decide, I want a coup. I want to take over this cult.
Like there's specifically the current standing leader of the cult is described to be disliked by everyone there, including his own.
He's vainglorious, which is an adjective that he used several times in this book. I'm convinced that it was in the author's like word a day calendar, and they just really liked it or something.
Yeah, but like not even the devil that this guy follows likes this guy.
Yeah.
Everyone dislikes him, and it's specifically, if you're the only person you're allowed to harm and get away with is this guy, because nobody likes him.
Yeah. And they're protective of everyone else, but not that guy.
That guy's fine. You can kill him.
Yeah, they'd thank you.
Yeah, and if you do befriend this cult, you actually like gain like a base of operations. Like you can go there, you can rest there. Like you get like essentially like a nice little community house that you can stay at in like the middle of the Icewind Dale. It's perfect for like when these later quests when you need to travel from all these different locations.
Yeah.
And if you need allies, you can have a cult that is like, hey, we want to help what you're doing because you're doing the thing that our devil wants us to do.
Yep.
And that's really, really cool to me. I love that cult. Mm-hmm. Like, I love that quest. I love that cult.
Yep.
Because like I've seen there's a lot of cult stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of fighting cults, and never. Usually
they're the bad guys.
Usually, never are they
ambiguous. Yeah.
Ambiguity. Yeah, that's not the right word. Ambiguous. Never are they. Usually, never are they. Never is their goal like so. Like usually, it's just a flat evil goal. This one could be argued to be a good goal. Yeah. Their goal is to protect these people from Asmodeus. Yeah. And that would, for most people, if somebody was, if like one of the cult members like be like, yeah, no, our devil wants to stop that devil from killing everyone here. I think most people would say that's pretty good. Yeah. Like
you know what?
But it's
like his platform. I vote for him. Yeah.
They're still evil because they're not acting in alignment to wanting to help people.
They're acting in their own best interests.
Yes.
It's just that in this case, their best interests happens to be the same as the greater others, the best interest of others.
Yeah, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like global warming.
How to play with alignments in an interesting way.
Any other time, alignments tend to get swung around and...
Yeah, or they say, oh, well, they're chaotic evil, so you can just, mow them down, no consequence.
Like,
yeah.
That's not always the case, and in this case, they're not. And same goes for one of my favorite characters, which is the wizard that got killed.
Mm-hmm.
He's lawful evil, but not because he's malicious in any way. He's willing to ally himself with the others.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other wizards had turned against him and got him killed. He doesn't really he has the same goal as them, but also he's already died and he's kind of disenfranchised just a little bit from it.
Yeah, just slightly.
So,
Death will do that.
Yeah, and so you can actually make the simulacrum a full version of him. There's a magic item that you can help him find to make him a full human again.
Yeah.
And he's just an ally to you. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And he's lawful evil because he has a selfish goal and he will stop at nothing to accomplish that goal. But as long as no one is actively trying to stop him, he's not gonna go out of his way to mess with people.
Yeah.
He's not a conniving character. He just wants either this item or to be mortal once he finds out that he's dead.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what kind of tonality and playing what kind of things are at play in this module that are really good. I really like this module.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of their better ones. I could easily see this being a favorite because of it has that unique cold survival aspect. Because Curse of Strahd is pure gothic horror.
Yeah.
And it's a great campaign. Gets remade every time, but you either like gothic horror.
You have to kind of be into vampires.
I love vampires.
Yeah.
But if you don't like vampires, you're not gonna like Curse of Strahd because it's just pure gothic horror vampire stuff.
Yeah.
This, however, is a great alternative to that kind of that same ish kind of.
It has more of a traditional fantasy feeling.
Yeah.
Because Curse of Strahd, it feels like it is a fantasy D&D setting, but the extreme focus on vampires and the gothic stuff feels very Victorian.
Yeah.
Because that's when gothic horror kind of came into its own.
But this, on the other hand, is more a straight up something magical's happening. You're the hero that has to stop it. And
it feels more medieval than Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, and it feels more high magic than Curse of Strahd. Well, I wouldn't really classify vampires as high magic.
Yeah.
So it's things like stopping a dwarven built dragon, stopping other types of dragons, stopping a god.
Yeah.
Splunking a giant wizard city.
Uncovering this ancient city of wizards and it's very traditional D&D setting done horror rather than horror gone traditional D&D or horror gone D&D. It's D&D gone horror instead of horror gone D&D.
Yeah, and I really, really like that. Overall, I feel like this is what the focus should be. Interesting, unique places like this that have interesting villains and characters that are all working towards something. Conflict with sometimes them each other, sometimes and overall with the players, and the players have to go and do something.
Yep.
But going into that, so after that first chapter and kind of that second chapter, where the second chapter branches out a lot more.
The first two chapters are assorted quests, which you can mix and match and change the order of and play around with, and then after that, It's on to
It's a lot of like
a dungeon, plot dungeon, plot dungeon 2.0, and then exploration dungeon.
yeah. Now for the most part, it's taking so like the first part is like it's like learning the traveling aspects of it and the characters and the role playing more. It's more of an easy, low kind of like you can breeze through chapter 1 if you really wanted to. Chapter 2 is a much longer, like in terms of like in-game time. Not like in chapter 1 and 2 are pretty equal. If chapter 1 didn't have like all the introductory stuff, it would probably be just as. Chapter 2 would probably be equal. Both of them take up about half the book.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 2 is more dungeons. It's flat out just dungeons, places to explore. You know, things are in this place.
Settings, interesting places to go, things to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Like kobolds and thing. There's a dragon in this place.
If you were to go to an Icewind Dale tourist center, these would be marked as places do not go, you will die, but for an adventure.
Unless you are adventurer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's those type of more, like, it's more flavor.
Yeah.
There's a lot more, like, lore aspects. Like, like one
stuff
of them
with
is,
Goliaths and...
Like, and there's, like, one of them's, like, the tip of, like, the tip of, like, the city.
Yeah, the ancient Netheril city, one of the spires on the city broke off and is now upside down, so you get a really cool upside down dungeon, which is super cool. I think I'd love to do it upside down.
Because it's like a ancient magic, like high magic thing. Like you go in there and you're upside down. Like the gravity is still like as if the tower was right side up.
Because it was a floating city.
Yeah,
and it was magic that held people. Kept it floating people down to it.
So, like, literally your characters, like, walk in and all of a sudden, like, up is down. So that's really fun. So, like, as it would be going up in the tower, like, they're going deeper into the ice that had...
Yeah.
It's cool. It's just flat out cool.
Yeah, that would be an excellent place to stick in. They haven't put these in 5th edition yet, and they didn't put them in this book either. But it'd be great. I ended up, for a one-shot that I wrote, updating the 3.5 monster into 5th edition, an arcane ooze. Where there's just sort of these oozes, obviously, that just devour arcane energy. And that would be an excellent place to stick one of those.
Yeah, no, Revel's End was
powerful, sort of creatures that like devour or subsist on magic. I don't get the feeling that gods have too much influence around here. I mean, there are some temples and things like that.
Aside from the one that's ruining everything for everyone.
The presence of Auril seems so overpowering that it
crushes anything else. Like she's specifically claiming this entire land as her own.
Yeah, arcane power definitely seems like the more thematic or interesting approach, especially once you get to actually fighting Auril and it's sort of arcane versus divine. I know 5th edition does not do a very good job of delineating between arcane and divine magic, but
you have to and that's why I kind of dislike when like it goes really into detail on like gods and like who they are and like a flat out what they do and stuff like unless like devils aren't gods. They don't count. They're more implied to be just good and generic like good and evil forces which exist in between gods.
Yeah.
But being able to explore that boundary on where things begin and end is interesting to me. So that being said, having this magic city is ultimately what eventually conquers the magic, the waning magic of this winter goddess.
Kind of. I mean, that was one of the things that confused me was that you can defeat all 3 of Auril's forms while you're in her domain. And that is before you head to the Magic City. One of the main motivations for your party to go to Auril is to get the Rime of the Ice Maiden to enter the Magic City. But if you have, in order to find their sort of device that you think might be able to control the weather. Yeah. But if you have defeated Aurel's Rock, or all 3 forms of Aurel, then she cannot cast the spell to keep it in darkness. So you've lost a big motivator, especially when 10 Towns is in complete disrepair and could use help in rebuilding.
I think it's implied that this has had lasting change on the area. Because they haven't had, like, a summer and...
Yeah, and you might need to cast the spell to immediately bring it back. That makes sense.
You don't have to.
I would recommend, in the first section, dividing the Dwergar quests. Give one of the Dwergar quests fairly early in your running of the campaign. Hold off on the second. There are 2 major Dwergar quests. Give one early on in the campaign to set up the presence of the Dwergar. Hold off on the second one until much later so that you can keep the thread kind of going. You're not just dropping them in one after another and then you have a massive space of time between
also,
then and fighting the Dwergar fortress.
Encountering them is very important as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way that the combat with the Dwergar themselves is interesting. Because because it specifies every single time they ever start, like, a combat, like, unless there's, like, only one of them,
they can shrink and enlarge themselves, and they can turn invisible.
Yeah, so
and they can do interesting things.
The first thing that they usually do is enlarge themselves and cast invisibility.
Yeah.
And so they're very much like a buffs heavy.
Yeah, I would also be careful about a lot of these quests are you cannot fully win a couple of them. Like fighting, there's a dinosaur in one of the lakes.
Oh yeah, the one that talks.
Yeah, there's a couple
That's another
one
where like you don't have to actually win by defeating it. Turns out that he's been awakened, and you can actually just talk into it, and it's like, I don't really want to do this.
You can talk to him, but there's a few of them that like you can't fully win or things like that. And I'd be very careful about giving too many of those in the beginning because you'll end up communicating to your players that they should avoid combat when at all possible, and then later on you can't avoid combat, especially when you're in like Aurel's home or with the dragon and things like that. You want to be very careful that you don't accidentally make your players think that this is a no combat module, or just discouraging them, because if you throw too many fights at them that they're not meant to win, that's really discouraging for a party to just go, well, we can't win anything.
But overall, so there is, like, a randomness to it, but it doesn't have to be. You can always just string them along the way you want them to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, especially with the secrets, there's a lot of points where there's also, like, a table of, like, class-specific reasons why you would be there, or why you could be there.
Yeah. Oh, those are backgrounds. Yeah.
They're not, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the player's handbook backgrounds.
Okay.
They give explanations for why you might be there. Which is very cool.
So, I think what it is that the darkness itself is what's ruining 10 Towns.
Mm-hmm.
But the blizzards that prevent people from reaching 10 Towns is what you need to stop.
Yeah, that's true. Because those would keep going for a while, even after the daylight returns. That makes sense.
Yeah, so killing her stops her from doing the rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to control the weather to stop the blizzards.
Yeah.
Because the blizzards are probably due to location, and the excess of snow is probably just like causing a horrible and never-ending blizzard.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So that's what that is.
Mhm. You're like, there's like a few options for ways that you can get, like, you can go slightly insane. You can get possessed by a ghost. You can get your alignment changed.
There's a Taresk that you can accidentally summon.
Oops.
Oops.
At least that's near enough to the end. But still. You can ride on a whale. You can make a whale friend. I like the whale friend. You pretty much have to make friends with the whale. It gives the DM things where if your players are struggling to make friends with this whale, here's an encounter you can have to help them, which is adorable. I wish there's like a few places where and like references to Dritz, like we mentioned. I wish there was more reference to Wolfgar. Wolfgar was the one that I really liked in the Crystal Shard books. And they don't do much with the barbarian tribes that are meant to be around there.
Yeah.
They have like, they kind of come in and out every once in a while. And it's mentioned that there's like a dwarven clan in some of the mountains. They don't do much with them either.
It's only Dritz.
Yeah, I'd like to see more stuff to do with that, but I just like dwarves. I'm a sucker for a good dwarf.
A good classic hardy dwarf.
I'm a sucker for a good dwarf, yep.
Did you see that video I sent where it was a smash cut of when Gimli like smashes the ring? Like when they said they had to destroy it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then it smash cuts to the ring being destroyed at the end.
Yep.
That was a great one. That's a great edit.
I'm a sucker for like the hardy kind of characters.
Yeah.
Although I do find I tried to vary the kind of characters that I play. I would love to play my not Grave Cleric, Death Cleric, Elvira, that I didn't get to play for Waterdeep. She would be fun to play here.
I'm sorry, but I was reading this section and that's hilarious. Like summoning the Taresk. I'm sorry, I didn't read like this whole back area. But so like one of the options you can do to like either luring Azrael out or like destroying her lair. Mm-hmm. It's just summoning a Taresk on her island.
It'll do it.
And it destroys it. Ruins her lair, and she just has to find a new one because there's this Taresk there, and she's not powerful enough to defeat it, so she has to leave, which is hilarious.
Well, there's a Taresk here now. I guess I gotta move.
What about Avarice? I didn't really get too into
Avarice
her.
is interesting. Avarice she's a member of that cult that we keep talking about, but she is also a wizard of Thay.
Yeah, because that's what I was like.
Her goal is to, like a later necromancer who helps you against the dragon. Her goal is she wants to raid the necropolis, Nethril City.
Yeah, and I'm guessing in the other
But she is in direct rivalry with that necromancer that helps you. She will follow you as you go. She has been kind of instructed by
she's like a spy. She's like a spy. She's always by that
6th level devil that her cult follows is like whispering in her ear saying, "Hey, these guys."
She's a tiefling to clarify. She is a tiefling of that devil. Yeah. So, like, it's not like this one's just favored. It's more like she's blood related to him.
Yeah, she's got a couple of gargoyles, which are cool, and a raven. She's a very cool character design. But, basically, she's been told these guys will do the heavy lifting for you, so she's kind of waiting it out until you get into the city, so she can then follow you in.
Yeah, and I believe she's also after the big orb that can control the weather.
She doesn't want to let you use it. She wants it for herself because she's after power, because she's
I think overall she does, like, she wants it they want it for themselves, but overall
she'd also like to leave eventually.
Yeah, and that's mainly why they're like, hey, get the orb, please. Why the devil's like, get the orb, please.
Yeah.
And stop the blizzards, because all these people are gonna starve to death.
Yep.
They're not getting enough supplies from the lower towns in Faerun to be able to keep going.
Yep.
But and there's multiple times when you're given, like, there's NPC characters that can follow the players. So, I know, like, there's a big contention between, like DM NPCs. Well,
DM PCs, yeah.
there's a lot of like opportunities for that, which, but it's not in a way that conflicts with the interests of the players.
Yeah.
Like for instance, that avarice could easily be a DMPC.
Yeah.
But also you can
because she can join the party fairly early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to lower her level so you're not.
Oh, and get rid of her gargoyles.
Yeah.
But like if like say you were running it and like this is recommended for 6 players. If you were running it and you just didn't have 6 players,
yeah,
you could easily just just
fill in with some NPCs.
Like because there's avarice,
Nimsy Huddle. Nimsy Huddle joins the party.
There's the druid isn't friendly.
Yeah.
The
druids are very unfriendly in this. They're constantly awakening animals, though they kind of follow the Frostmaiden, so.
Well, no, it's specifically one druid.
Oh, it's just the one druid? Well, I thought it was a bunch of, like, there's several of them that are...
It's like, it says that there was animals that were awakened, like the dinosaur, and... the frost giant was...
There is one that was kind of going
like,
around.
And then the moose and the all the animal encounters that you get.
Yeah.
That was specifically that one druid that hated this town.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Because her sister died.
Yeah.
Like, someone killed her sister.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And so, like, she was the one... So she's been, like, intentionally sabotaging everything by awakening animals in trance and everything she can. And just telling them... mess these guys up.
Yep.
And she's been hiding out in the elven graveyard.
Yeah, especially since a lot of the towns are doing a human sacrifice.
There's actually not too many.
There's a couple of them. Most people are, like, they can't afford to lose any people in their towns because they need all the workers that they can have. They'll sacrifice
seems to be
food,
understanding about
or
that.
they'll go without warmth for a night.
Yeah.
Like, they won't light any fires. But some of the towns are very much in support of human sacrifice to try to appease her.
Yeah, so, like, this is explained, like on one of the starting quests, potentially, is the murder case. And that person is specifically, like, a revenant or something. I forgot. Like,
he's possessed by a ghost.
Yes, he's possessed by the ghost of a druid.
Yeah.
So there is multiple druids, but he's not technically a druid.
Yeah.
He's possessed by a follower of Azrael, and specifically, he's targeting people because it's implied that some people pay off because it's like a random draw from a hat.
Yeah.
Some people pay to get out of being killed.
As you might do.
As one might do.
As you do that, side note, there is a ring. I don't remember what page it's on. A ring of warmth that they have art of. I want that ring. It's so cute. It's 2 little foxes curled around each other.
Or something, or
I think they're snow foxes.
They could be snow foxes or weasels.
Either snow foxes or weasels. They're just curled around each other, and it's the cutest thing. I want it. If they make any kind of... Wizards of the Coast hasn't made a lot of, like... They've made a few... I think they made, like, a amulet of protection.
I know they've made, like, wall mounts.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And, like, a few little trinket, like, accessory merchandise things. If they make a ring of warmth, I would buy, like, 10 and wear one on every finger. That's a lie. I wouldn't wear that many, but they're super cute and I would wear one.
Their tails tell me that they're weasels.
No, I think they're foxes. Because
be.
they're,
like, if it was implying that, like, it's carved out of wood.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, there's a lot of good, cool crap in this thing. And I really want to run it now.
Yeah.
Goblin diplomacy, as it says.
I like that they have finally brought in living spells. Those are cool. I've always liked those from 3rd and 3.5.
Yeah, no, like, Avarice is a great character. Dazan's also kind of a cool character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's 3 of them. There was, Vilene, Nass, Avarice, and Dazan.
Yeah.
There actually might be one more, and I might be forgetting.
Let's see.
Because...
Avarice Kazan,
'Cause, like,
Nass, Valine. Nope, that's all of them.
yeah, so like there's a necromancer. Actually, sorry, there's 2 necromancers actually.
I think was Dazan not a necromancer?
I thought he was.
Because I think Avarice is an evocation specialist.
Yeah, which is why she has all that fun stuff.
I also love the there's a couple of aberrations in here. They're mind flayers, but they're gnomes. Like gnome, mind
they have,
flayer,
like,
squidling, aboleth, whatever.
It's like a
Ceramorphs. That's what they are. They are adorable.
it's like failed attempts to get like a normal sized creature, and so they got one that's smaller than average. So,
I know, and the squidlings are so cute.
and they're just like these like adorable little tiny squid people.
Mm-hmm.
As a result,
Which is interesting because we don't see a lot of gnomes or halflings or elves here at all. There is an elven tomb, but I don't think there's that many elven NPCs.
I mean,
There's a lot of dwarves, a lot of Goliaths. Dwarves, Goliaths, humans.
This one, it does talk a lot about
some
Goliaths,
tieflings.
which I'm surprised that like this didn't come like this with supplemental material to play as a Goliath.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't any more like backgrounds.
But honestly, like,
yeah.
overall, I love this.
Yeah,
Like,
it is very good. It's well put together.
Even talking about it, there's a lot to say. You can complain about a lot of things.
Yeah. You can nitpick. There's a few places where I'm like, I would alter this a little bit.
In terms of like campaigns, settings and such modules, it is a great module.
Yes,
it is a very good module. I would definitely grab it.
I would play it.
I would play it. I would probably resort to being a DMPC because I'm bad like that. But also, I want the experience of wilderness survival, and because the best part about it is wilderness survival kind of things and games is the chance of dying.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I was playing a DMPC, I would like want the chance of dying.
Yep.
Because, like, sometimes you just can't find food and you die.
Yeah. I think the NPC is reasonable.
I think this campaign specifically is more geared to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I think this one takes what 5th edition is doing in stride as opposed to kind of just working off of previous editions.
Mm-hmm.
Like what they've done in the past. This one seems to take it kind of supplements where it needs to, where 5th edition lacks. And it takes that and it tries to do fill in the details and get what it needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of a lot of implication on what should, like, because like 5th edition is geared towards a very different type of player than it is like 3.5. This one kind of implies like the way 5th edition the way they kind of imply it should be run. Yeah. Which is like more of a spending less time worrying about the little, like having footwear and being literate in early levels, and more because like it takes because 3rd edition you have to like really build up to become
something. Yeah, you get a lot of customization and detail and exactly how you want to play your character,
and it's very like numerical in that sense. Yeah. But this one takes like the 5th edition. You're like quite strong already. It takes that and then implies, and then it just makes the living difficult instead.
Mm-hmm.
It makes, because like 5th edition, as a player, there's not much you have to do to survive.
Yeah, 5th edition, you immediately get all of these fantastical abilities like right off the bat at level 1. The addition of just survival mechanics.
Yeah, and like such a heavy focus on them
difficult. Too. Yeah, gives a more of a struggle for the characters, not in a bad way.
Yeah, because like in like 3.5, sometimes you just might not make it out of alive like as an early level character in like a simple combat.
Yeah.
But like in 5th edition, like an early combat is relatively easy because you just do so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
And the enemies are have so little health a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But in this, like it like slows you down by putting a heavier focus on. Do you have the right equipment? Are you ready? You know, this is going to take this long. It's cold as hell outside.
Time is of the essence. Food is incredibly scarce. There's mechanics for fishing, because you have to fish to get food. You can't scavenge. Or just, you know, buying rations is going to be incredibly expensive.
And there's like a heavy focus on that. There's an entire quest where you get this cauldron. And this NPC...
Yeah, the cauldron of plenty. And getting this thing that will feed a whole town causes serious problems between people. People wanting to steal it to take it because
you get it from Witch. So like when you walk into the specific town, that's where you see Drazan dying, being burned at the stake. And you're supposed to stop this like hag. But she has cauldron.
Yeah.
Plenty. So, and it can create stew. Full gallons of stew a day, and when you get back, if you take that and you get back, the leader of the town is like willing to pay you upwards of like tens of thousands of gold and gems in order to get that from you. Like, what is it? I'm gonna look up the exact amount of gold that he.
Yeah, and you can't keep it a secret, is the thing. I mean, you would have to really try
to hide it.
But
yeah, it's a big cauldron, but like it's implied that your characters would immediately see the value in having a pot that just generates food.
Yeah.
It's
and
huge.
If you don't, like, it'll cause tensions between the different towns depending upon which town you give it to, even.
So, his original offer is 10 gemstones worth 500 gold pieces each, and if you barter with him, he is willing to. Sorry, he offers 5.
He'll
if you
go
barter,
up to 10.
He'll go up to 10.
Yeah.
So, again, that's 10,000 gold in like one of the starting quests.
Yeah.
Like, that's how valuable this thing is.
Yeah.
So, food is scarce. That's the point here. Food is very scarce.
Especially since, like, I think it helps a little bit that you don't have to worry in this that if you give your players too much money, they'll just buy out the magical items list, because it's just not available.
Yeah.
Like, you can't buy yourself a fortress or whatever and fortify it and come back, because there's nothing there.
There's, like, a lot of towns that, like, unless you, like, spent the time going around each town and, like, building your popularity with them, sometimes they just don't like you.
Yeah, you're a weird outsider.
You're a weird outsider, one, and two, building the morale of the town increases their capacity to be able to help you.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't helped a town, they might not even be able to help you.
Yeah. Oh, it actually says, like, towns that you go out of your way to help will be favorable to you, but the towns that you don't will resent you.
Like,
you haven't helped them when you've helped everybody else. So if you are like, well, they don't like me, I'm not going to help them, we're just going to move on, like, you've closed off your relationship with that town, and if you need something from a particular place or a quest in there, you're going to have problems.
Like, you
can choose to balance it, you can choose to just let everybody hate you and keep the cauldron for yourself. You'd have to lug it around. It wouldn't be terribly handy. I mean, it would slow down your travel, which is a major issue.
Yeah. Plus, like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yep. Also, like, the white lady, the ghost that will show up first in, like, a seance in the tavern and then a couple of other times. Because once you've summoned her, you can see her wherever she shows up.
Oh, and she's just there.
She might possess one of your party.
Yeah, that's the ghost one.
Yeah.
Also, I like the fact that one of the wizards of the Fae is a ghost.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't supposed to. She was not supposed to be there.
Yeah, she kind of got grandfathered in.
She did not even get grandfathered in. It was one of those situations where, like, like a '90s movie where, like, they're like the adults being, "Don't do that thing.
Yeah.
You're too young." She's like, "I'm gonna go do that thing because it will make you be more proud of me." And she did, and she got herself killed.
Yep.
And she's now a ghost, and her like weasel familiar is still alive because it's attached to her spirit and not her body.
Yeah.
So, but she like stole an item from one of the other wizards, and they killed her or something. No, she froze to death.
She froze to death. If you find her corpse, you can find her the tome. Its description is in the back of the module here. Yeah.
It's like
a very useful thing, but it's kind of hard to find her body because obviously covered in snow.
on Citadel of White.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, it teaches you spells, and it also gives you the Rime of the Frostmaiden. Like,
does it? I thought that was the other one.
Nope. The Citadel of White has the Rime of the Frostmaiden. It's an incantation which the power can use to split a glacier.
Ah.
And its power can be used at your discretion.
Hmm.
And like there is like a actual poem of that she says.
Yeah.
There's also
blades. Yeah, you're right. It's the I was thinking it is in the Codicil of White.
Yep. First off, I would love to touch that book. It's like covered in white fur.
I know, it looks so soft.
Other things that come in this book is 3 new spells that are in that same book.
Actually, I bet I could make a replica of that.
There's Blade of Disaster. Oh my god, it's a 9th level spell.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't read these yet. A Planar Rift. It's like a Dragon Ball attack.
Yep. And Frost Fingers. Frost Fingers.
Wonderful.
It's the spell. The spell. The freezing blast.
Yeah, but overall, I think we have come to the conclusion that this is a great campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That seems very fun to run. It doesn't, on the surface of it, it doesn't seem as interesting as it actually is.
Yeah.
Because, you look at it and it feels very,
It just, for face value, it looks like a northern setting. Like an ice setting.
Yeah, it just seems like an ice setting with ice things. I mean, it is, but yeah. It does what it's trying to do so much justice.
Yeah.
That it really just has an idea that it wants to do, and it just runs as far as it can with it.
It takes its concepts and it fleshes them out, unlike Theros.
Yeah.
Which was good concepts, didn't flesh them out.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what kind of made the difference between a module, like a campaign kind of module, versus just a little addition.
Yeah. I do wish that Wizards of the Coast would go back to publishing singular, short modules.
I also wish that they weren't the same freaking price.
Yeah.
We could talk about that, too. How this one and that one is the same price, but this one is probably infinitely better.
Yeah. It manages to establish a setting in the same way that Theros does, but it also gives you a plot to follow and a game to run, whereas Theros gives you only a very short intro module. And this is even more fleshed out, I would say, in terms of the society and what's going on than Theros is. The only difference is Theros gives you subclasses to play. I mean, and even then, not many. I was disappointed that Theros gives you so few subclasses or backgrounds and everything. And
not only that, just by the setting, you could play some super interesting characters, and story from a story standpoint, it's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah,
it's something that I would love to run. I would love to play. Overall, great campaign, definitely worth it. I think.
Yeah, I think.
I think if I were considering buying it and I bought it and read it, I would not have regretted buying it. Like, unlike some of the other books where it's like Ghost of the Salt Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
I have it. I'm not like I don't feel like it's worth the money that I spent on it. This, on the other hand, I feel like was worth the money that I spent on it.
Yeah, I think if you ran Icewind Dale levels 1 through 11, you could then easily connect it up with a second campaign, even if it's homebrewed. Like, bring it straight down into the Underdark, or they give options to go back in time and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, especially once you hit that wizard city, there's a lot of really, really, really powerful items that are there that can be used. Like, that's where you get into, like, planar stuff and, like, what other weird stuff was this weird society.
You could, like, immediately bring it in, like, Underdark, you could immediately bring in Asmodeus or something with the cult that you were just allied with, if you decided to ally yourself with them. Yeah. There's a lot of options that you can do once you complete it, especially since the last section is very just exploration. There is no real final boss to it. It's a good way. I mean, if you're just planning on running it on its own, the ending's a little disappointing in that it doesn't feel concluded. But if you're going to use this to lead into a second section of the campaign that you're running, not just this module, but adding on another one, it works. It's a great setup to go right from Icewind Dale to wherever you want to go next with your story.
Yeah, and then there it would just be a matter of what did your players like the most? Yeah. What did they see the most interest in? Like, you can even do some weird stuff where, like, she's not actually dead. If they, like, really liked Azrael herself.
Well, they've established you can't kill Auril.
Like, she can't...
But she has to retreat and recover.
Yeah, and
because she still has followers.
And she'll come back at full strength. She has to recover for, like, 1,000, 2,000 years. Yeah.
She does still have... I mean, you could conceivably find a way to kill her by... Like, if you had a cleric of another frost god that's, like, benevolent, I could see a manner of replacing her and permanently killing her as, like, punishment. Or that would be interesting.
Or, like, somehow having one... Because I think only a god can kill a god. Yeah. No, wait, she would have... You're right, she would have to have no more followers. And since she still has followers, she would still return.
Yeah, or get one of those demons to want to ascend to godhood, take her place as the god of cold.
That guy just spent his entire time trying to protect this area because Asmodeus was like, what if?
Yeah, that would be so interesting to have like a devil that becomes a god,
like a lawful neutral god.
Yeah, who
ice and
then
cold.
Like leaves the evil because his function now is like protection over 10 towns.
And that would be so ironic because his whole thing is that he's trapped in ice in his.
Yeah.
And, like, what if he just ascended and became a god of...
the protector of the people, and like, in the trapped in ice and Icewind Dale, that would be so interesting.
I would do that, yeah. I would do more with that cult and, like, do a whole thing with Asmodeus. He's upset because you kind of foiled his plans, and that was a lot of souls.
And then Asmodeus would be, like, strictly against... Asmodeus would be, like, the main villain if you're trying to help this devil ascend to godhood to take the place of Auril.
Yeah, and then, like...
Because he doesn't want the guy who's technically his prisoner becoming a god, because then his previous prisoner is not going to look too kindly on him.
What if, like, somehow he had to prove that he was, like, more than a devil, and, like...
Mm-hmm.
And you
have to gain acceptance from the other gods.
That, or, like, you can tie it in with the Underdark, have him prove himself against, like, Loth or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like show that like he wants to protect this area.
Yeah, or like gain him more followers. You would need to go around and do things in his name to gain him more followers. Honestly, that lets you continue.
And honestly, one other thing, because like I'm pretty sure this is the same god that was all about magic items and stuff.
Yeah.
This is the one about like knowledge and stuff.
Mm-hmm. She likes to collect things, so.
Well, no, like the devil.
Oh yeah.
So that would even fit even more with the theming of like this.
I'm gonna look up which devil exactly that was.
Mordecai's.
No, they've got his name in here.
Yeah, it's at the beginning. It's in the one with the.
Wergar Outpost, Kaer Konig. Here we go.
Oh, wait.
Caerdinaval. Knights of the Black Sword, Levistus.
Yeah. That
The
was...
archdevil who rules Stygia, the sixth layer of the Nine Hells. He confines of an ice prison from which he cannot escape. Because Levistus does, it's saying the way he's getting these cult members is he's intervening on their behalf and rescuing them. I think that would be really interesting, taking Levistus and turning him into not an evil god, but like a neutral one.
So, like, so he already rules over, like, the desperate and the needy.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why he specifically targets those people.
Yeah.
Because his, as part of Levistus' punishment, Asmodeus decreed that he must offer escape and safety to the desperate, especially those who fear for their lives.
Yeah. Even if you want to keep him like an evil god, he'd still be an improvement over Auril.
Who was like...
Because his self-interest as a god would be in the power of the Icewind Dale and the protection of 10 towns, versus Auril, whose self-interest as a deity is in their misery, kind of. I think that would be really interesting to play, like, trying to get, Levistus. I mean, you would still have to go through and weaken Auril by defeating her, but you could... Oh, that would be so interesting. If you run this, that's what I'm gonna do, or if I run this, that's what I'm gonna...
Sorry, I'm just reading this real quick.
Yeah, no, you're good.
He usurped Greyon, and that's why Asmodeus was mad at him, so he froze him. Apparently. There's no clear indication why he disliked Levistus and approved of Greyon.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, devils, they're all about bureaucracy and order, so just the act of attempted usurpation would be probably enough to bring about disapproval.
Yeah, I think his punishment was, like, overly ambitious.
Mm-hmm. Like I said before, I would love to... It'd be interesting to play a Dwergar. Jardarok Sunblight is the Dwergar who wants to destroy 10 towns with his dragon, and he believes that he is following Deep Dwera. Deep Dwera is a god of the Dwergar. No, he's a warlock, so Deep Dwera is like a demi-god kind of a figure. Powerful figure. Like, having a warlock that is actually a warlock of Deep Dwera. That is, their goal is to stop Jardarok Sunblight originally, or then try to gain Deep Dwera godhood in place of Auril afterwards. That would be interesting too. Or you could find a reason why the other Dwergar do not want this guy in charge, or why they would be against Auril's continued power and things like that. Be interesting. There's a lot of different things you could play, and that would be an excellent secret for a Dwergar character. They'd have to hide the fact that they're Dwergar, obviously.
In my ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Quote from Levistus.
Yeah, he'd make an excellent replacement god of the ice. A god of the creeping cold. That would be very interesting.
It seems like he's just overly ambitious to the point where I guess Asmodeus was upset.
Mm.
I don't know. But it doesn't seem to have any type of...
Yeah, that's room to play.
Yeah, unless like there's something I'm missing from like a previous edition, which I could be.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if they haven't put it in to 5th edition,
it can be edited.
And even then, I mean, it's meant to be altered. I know a lot of people seem to have this impression that 3 and 3.5, you're not allowed to homebrew or alter them, that you have to play them exactly as the rules are written, but that's not the way it is at all. I don't know why 5e players seem to think that you aren't allowed to alter
Also, interestingly,
3.5.
according to this, it's suggested that Striga
Mm-hmm.
it might have not have since it's so different from all the other layers of hell that it could have possibly not started as a layer of hell.
Yeah, that would make sense why Asmodeus would imprison him if Levistus' goal was to become a god.
What if he was a god?
Who previously was a god at some point. That would be interesting.
I think his search for knowledge is specifically to find a way to free him from his impenetrable eyes. Because he does have like a competitor that's trying to kill him because he usurped someone, and then after he usurped them, they took over. Which is strange, though, because why did he get imprisoned in impenetrable ice? Because the ice protects him from this other guy that he usurped and is still plotting to try to kill. But the ice prevents him from getting killed.
Yeah.
But as a result, he's still the lord of that layer. So it's weird.
It might be the desire of Asmodeus to keep things as they are, like following the rules. Everyone is the lord of their own hell, and this is as it is, and it has to stay that way.
I wouldn't say so, because like he's fine with the rivalry between other gods, and he was the one that appointed Zariel to replace Baal.
That's true. Who knows?
So that's why
you could get creative with it. See what.
Which is why I find it interesting. What if like he wasn't actually like a full devil? Like what if he just became one afterwards?
Yeah.
And that's why he got imprisoned, because Asmodeus genuinely feared him.
Yeah.
Because he was definitely dwelling a little bit too close to the edge there.
Yeah.
And because it's not really. I mean, like you could probably go into later editions, and I'm sure there's like clear cut like timeline of events.
Yeah, this is exactly how it happened. There's probably books concerning it.
Like the Fiendish Folio over there.
Yeah. This was very fun.
Yeah, good module. Highly recommend. You can get it online at D20 Collective.
Yeah, D20 Collective. You can buy Rime of the Ice Maiden, and there are some sets of dice that would be perfect to go with it.
I think this is one of the few settings where I want to play a druid.
Druid would be interesting.
Or, I mean, I would always want to play a ranger. I love rangers.
An artificer would be interesting to play in Icewind Dale, especially given like the Black Cabin one, wherein you're attempting to repair a magical device to try to fix the weather, and it doesn't work. But
like in the whole Regar thing with the dragon.
Yeah, with the dragon, that would be fun. I think a cleric of any god other than Auril would be interesting.
A paladin of any god other than Auril.
Yeah,
a warlock of any.
A warlock of Deep Dwera would be cool.
A warlock.
I would love to play Elvira, that death cleric that I talked about before, who worships a god of like more benevolent. Terry Pratchett inspired,
a necromancer that was a wizard that was a necromancer / cryomancer.
That would be interesting. Very appropriate. Fire inspired anything would be
Dragonborn.
Very useful.
A Dragonborn of ice would be good for you. A Dragonborn of fire would be good for everyone else.
Yeah.
Also a Genasi.
Yeah.
Imagine being a fire Genasi.
Yeah, fire Genasi would be very cool. Also, like a water or an air Genasi would fit. Just like the cold kind of implications. Goliaths are obviously very common here. Yeah. Barbarian, easy enough with the barbarian tribes to incorporate.
Tiefling.
Yeah, tieflings.
Tieflings are always a good choice.
Tiefling of Levistus.
Or any of them.
Or Asmodeus, yeah.
Or any of them, really. You could spice things up a little bit.
Yep. Dwarves.
Dwarves.
Sucker for a good dwarf.
Dwarf for a good sucker.
Yep. Or elves, maybe, like searching for that